You started off, you said that you felt uncomfortable when it happened. She brought up the conversation. You're not bisexual. So sometimes when things happen and you want to keep your lady, you make the adjustment, compromising, but in your heart of heart, that's not really what you wanted. So you're being open, and then you had this idea planted, and then you start adopting it, thinking like, okay, well, I'm okay with it. Maybe it's something that I signed off on too. So you assign it mutuality when in actual fact, the inception of that idea came from her and you've adjusted to it. With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her? With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her? I think it's very disingenuous to call it monogamy when it's not monogamy.
And the only monogamy off camera.
That's like me saying that, you know, inside of this room,
you don't really need to say it's like anything. It just is a statement of fact, right?
No, it's not, because you're creating a false condition, as though life is different when you turn on a camera and turn off a camera. I like where we're at right now. What we're experiencing is that you know what you're doing is wrong, so you have this duality in your mind and in your psyche to make you feel like because you turn on a camera, because you're getting paid, now it's okay. When in actual fact, I'll tell you how we know it's wrong. Would you feel comfortable if your father was watching your OnlyFans and subscribing to it? Would not feel comfortable, and I'll tell you why. That's because in your heart of hearts and your soul, if you still got one, you know it's wrong. And I'll give you an example. That's your work. In my work, if my mother consumed my work, I'd be thankful and pleased that she took an interest in my work and supported my work. If she bought my products, I'd be thankful. If your mother or father bought your products, you'd be disgusted and ashamed because you know what you're doing is wrong and the product of what you're doing is bad. All right, so Adam, you ready for this? Get your pen and paper.
Let's go.
You ready for this? All right, cool. So the number one foundational piece is selecting the correct woman.
Just so you know, every girl sitting on this side of the table earns more money than him. I think we all are in kind of an agreement that we don't really want to sit here and listen to someone who's basically a scam artist tell us what's wrong with our lives.
I hurt your feelings earlier, and
you didn't hurt my feelings at all. It's just you're trying to do this whole moral superiority thing, and it's not working because you're broke.
If I was actually broke, it literally would mean nothing to me. With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her?
I would say it was very mutual. You know, we just kind of realized that, you know, after doing that Jason Love scene, we just didn't realize how viral the whole thing was going to be. And so we kind of got set on the path of thinking about how we could take it to the next level, because it ended up being like by far the most viral thing that any of us had ever been involved with. So at that moment, we kind of realized like, oh, this is kind of our thing now. We have to sort of push at the edges of our conventional relationship, and the people will be incapable. Well, I mean,
ain't mostly conventional.
Well, I mean, we sleep with other girls, but off camera, our relationship is entirely traditional.
Crazy. All right. So what I'm really trying to figure out is, because you said you were uncomfortable with the Jason Love scene initially.
I was a little conflicted about it. It was a little bit of a weird thing.
And so I'm trying to figure out like where your soul is, and as much as like removing money from the equation. And honestly, at this point, I don't even think money is really the driving force.
But, yeah, just to get it out there, me and her are both multimillionaires and have been for many, many years. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So money's not the driving force. So if it were just up to you and she were a robot as opposed to a human, and you could have it to where you could have things open on your side but closed on her side, would you prefer that?
To be honest, she came to me before we started kind of pushing out the boundaries of our relationship, and she said, what do you think that we should do? Do you think that I should just kind of hang it up and have another kid? Or do you think that we should keep doing this for a few more years and kind of see how far we can take things? And I said, you know what, let's push at the edges. Let's see how far we can take this. So it is primarily a financial thing, but also I can say that when we shot the scene with this other guy the other day, I had a great time. It was fun overall.
Your time was enhanced because he was there. Because me personally, I like my meat to be the only one on the sandwich.
Right. No, it was exciting. It was excierating for sure.
Like, what kind of hot dog? It's just like one hot dog on the buns. Jeremy, like you got all these Vieta sausages coming out the woodwork. You find that it's enhanced by that? Because I find like
that was fun. Yeah.
Okay.
In a different way than, you know, sleeping with other girls. We've done that hundreds of times together. So this was something that switched it up a little bit. Yeah.
Do you think with all of these unusual sexual experiences that it might lead you down a path to where you have to go to extreme things to get off?
No, I've been jerking off to the exact same type of content my entire life. So the idea that guys who watch porn have to sort of slowly get into more and more extreme
I'm not talking
content.
about watching it. You're in it.
Right, yeah, but I mean, I've been doing porn on camera with her, and this is the only thing that we've done that took it to another level. You know, if we did 7 years straight of just having sex with other girls on camera, this is the only thing that we've done that kind of opened it up a little bit, to the tune of us becoming like probably one of the most viral couples in America in the past year. So in terms of where we could take it, I mean, I'm not doing any gay shit. And so that's probably like the primary thing. We've had obviously people asking us if we would ever shoot with a trans person. I'm not interested in that either. So I can't really think of where we would take it.
With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her? With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her? You know, sometimes we aren't really, seeing ourselves in as much as you said she brought the conversation to you. You said that you didn't feel comfortable initially with the Jason Love being involved in.
Well, I agreed to the Jason Love thing. It was just once it actually took place, I had a tiny amount of buyer's remorse that I quickly replaced with realizing like, oh, this is not a big deal. Nothing changed in our relationship after she shot with another guy. So that was pretty abated quickly.
Right. So it's like called the inversion of morals, which is to say that truth be told, in your heart of hearts, you're not comfortable with it. You want to retain your spouse.
I've had moments of
one second. I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you at all because I do want to hear you out.
You're kind of pushing like a fake narrative by saying that I'm uncomfortable with it.
But I never interrupted you. I never interrupted you because I want to hear you out.
I just wanted to save you a little bit of breath by correcting you. Before
I'm not trying to get you angry. I sincerely am interested in what you have to say, but I didn't interrupt you one time. So the reason I ask is because, as I said, you started off, you said that you felt uncomfortable when it happened. She brought up the conversation. You're not bisexual. So sometimes when things happen and you want to keep your lady, you make the adjustment, compromising, but in your heart of heart, that's not really what you wanted. So you're being open, and then you had this idea planted, and then you start adopting it, thinking like, okay, well, I'm okay with it. Maybe it's something that I signed off on too. So you assign it mutuality when in actual fact, the inception of that idea came from her and you've adjusted to it.
I wouldn't say the inception of the idea came entirely from her. This is a conversation we've been having throughout the entirety of our relationship as we met more and more male performers that I was comfortable with, and sort of slowly over time realized that this was something that we both felt comfortable with.
Yeah, so when you say that you were comfortable with, right, and it came over time, whereas with the females, it just came straight away, almost like a natural thing, you might say. So why in terms of when the guy comes along, there has to be a process, because it's a process of adjusting to something that's unpleasant?
Why was there a process that it took some adoption? What are you asking? Yeah, I mean, I feel like this dude gets it, that of course it's going to be a little awkward for you to go through the transition of seeing your girl do that for the first time. But ultimately, she told me even up until the moment that she was leaving the house to go shoot it, she's like, I won't do this if you don't feel comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And I told her, even though there is a degree to which I don't feel comfortable with it, I'm still willing to give this a shot because I realize the underlying value. And I mean, to be honest, we both made 7 figures off of that one scene in and of itself. And
I believe that. I don't doubt the financial aspect at all, but like, for example, I know maybe people watching might not be able to relate to this, but say once you cross $2 million, right? Have you found that there are a significant number of things you can do with money that you can't do when you have 2 million versus say 15 million?
I'm not really doing anything with any of the money I make. I don't have any sort of like fancy habits or hobbies or anything like that. And she's the same way as me. I mean, we're into buying property and starting businesses and stuff like that, but it's not really about the money and what we can do with it because we don't really do anything with it.
Right. So when you say there was an underlying value, what is the underlying value of your wife getting railed by a big black guy?
Probably just money. Realize that, shooting this kind of content, it's not some seedy environment, She had a good time on set. I'm sure he had a good time. I, grew accustomed to it rather quickly. So, my wife has she loves her career. She loves the business that we're building. She's happy with it. She was earning whatever, like $30,000 a year at the time that I met her. And in her first week on OnlyFans, she made $30,000. So, the extent to which this has changed our life dramatically has been pretty extreme.
When Jason Love shows up, the body itself is going. With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her? When Jason Love shows up, the body itself is going. With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her?
I mean, I get tested for STDs every 2 weeks, just like almost everybody in the porn business. And I've had sex with something like 700 women, and most of those have been unprotected. I don't want to listen to this guy anymore. And I feel like I might do something extreme if I were to stick around.
Hold on. When I first walked in, I said,
I might have to polish that milk dud.
When I saw you downstairs, I said, do you want the fade? And you said no. We could have took care of that before the show started. Yeah, as soon as I walked up, I said, do you need that fade? And he said no. With regards to bringing the other dude in, would you say that was primarily driven by her? When Jason Love shows up, the body itself is going. When Jason Love shows up, the body itself is going. When Jason Love shows up, the body itself is going.